This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Dennis House. Straight ahead today, from electric vehicles to education, the 2024 legislative session begins this week. We get a preview from State Senator Doug McCrory, a Democrat, and State Representative Rachel Chalesky, a Republican. The dangers of artificial intelligence and social media. Professor Adam Chiara of the University of Hartford is in studio for us. A Wallingford company with new technology designed to keep schools, synagogues, and other public places safe. Former Police Chief Joe Dooley explains how it works and the questions parents should be asking. Plus, the story of a Connecticut boxing legend hitting the big screen will take you to the premiere of The Featherweight. But first up on This Week, The Lead. The legislative session begins this Wednesday, and Governor Lamont and lawmakers are getting ready for a variety of issues facing the state. Joining us now from the state capitol, two lawmakers, State Representative Rachel Chalesky, she's a Republican, and State Senator Douglas McCrory, a Democrat. We thank you both for being with us here today. So you're both excited for the start of the legislative session next week, right?
Absolutely. Of course.
Absolutely.
Yes. I'll give you the first shot here. What's the top priority for Republicans?
So one of the resounding issues that I hear from my constituents is affordability in the state of Connecticut, and how we can maintain low taxes, and especially for our seniors.
And for Democrats?
Wow, there's a number of things. First and foremost, education. Housing has been a huge topic of discussion, and healthcare, and of course, our seniors. Staying in housing is probably the number one priority.
You know, we talk about all this new housing. They're building apartments all across Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
And the rents, people say, are exorbitant.
Yes.
What do you do? How do you tackle affordability in Connecticut, known for being an expensive state? Senator, I'll let you start this one.
You know, somehow we have to find incentives for developers to come in and reduce the cost of building housing in the state of Connecticut. We have a lot of housing, affordable housing in our urban communities, and one of the things that we have to do is expand that affordable housing outside the urban communities and take communities that might want to adopt it, because we have teachers, we have police officers that can't afford to live in the places where they work. So somehow we have to be creative and find incentives to provide opportunities for people to come in and develop. We've got to do kind of private-public partnerships.
Representative Chalesky.
So we all know that with inflation and just the cost of living has not really kept pace with the cost of housing. So one of the ways that we addressed it in last session was we passed a historic income tax cut, and we expanded the threshold for income for our seniors, and as far as Social Security, 401ks and IRAs and things of that nature.
And I want to talk about education. You brought that up, so we'll let you have the first crack at this one. What needs to be done in our state to improve education? There's been talk about universal pre-K, maybe school lunches for everybody.
Yes, education is certainly something that is probably the #2 concern for Danbury residents. I think, you know, there's been an effort, a years-long effort to reevaluate the way the state funds education across all public school types, and we came very close with that last session with HB 5003 that really looked to streamline the education funding formula for all types. As well as expand school choice. School choice is something that has been embedded in the state's educational landscape for decades, with the goals of raising student achievement and reducing racial economic isolation.
Senator.
I say one of the things that the governor has done, and I've been on the panel, he had a Blue Ribbon panel around early childhood education, especially for our individuals who live in marginalized communities. He had put a workforce. We're looking at how we can maintain and balance our workforce for early childhood educators. We're looking at working with private businesses and also focusing on infants and toddlers at a very early age, even before they get into our public school system.
I want to talk about the electric vehicle debate, which has been a hot one, and the governor had talked about a special session that did not happen, so it'll be addressed in the upcoming session. But should the Democrats, many of them have proposed banning the sale of gas vehicles new gas vehicles by the year 2035. The state would go all EV. What do you think about that? I know Republicans are opposed.
I just think it's too much too soon. I've put out surveys to my constituents, and the majority say no, we're not ready for this yet. The infrastructure isn't there. They can't afford electric vehicles, the cost of electric vehicles. There's environmental concerns around the manufacturing and disposal of these batteries, among a whole slew of reasons why we're not ready for this yet.
Senator, do you support banning them by 2035?
Well, not necessarily support everything. I think we have to be a little patient. When we looked at what my colleague said, the grid, do we have the capacity to actually do all this at a Verdant Lake? That's why we didn't go in early special session, because we have to really take a hardcore look at where we're going with this and making sure we have the capacity to service these vehicles when they come in, and make sure we have the ability for those people who can't afford. Everyone can't afford a high-priced EV, so we got to make sure we're on the right path to make sure everyone be able to benefit from this. So that's why we're taking our time and moving at a snail's pace so we can get this right.
If the state were to move toward an all-electric vehicle future, why isn't it setting an example by buying all state vehicles as electric vehicles, right? There's Chevrolet Bolts on the lot. They just bought some GMC Yukons for state officials.
Sure.
Why not electric vehicles?
Yeah, sure. I think it should start. It should start there. It should start with the people at the top.
Right. Let's lead by example.
Yep.
I think that's a great idea. We should start with all our state vehicles being electric, and that will be a leader. We're showing our constituents what's best.
Will you propose that next week?
I think I'm bringing that up next week. I'm going to bring that up in conversation. You know what? That's absolutely true. Yes.
And we've also heard complaints that lawmakers who have EVs can't charge them at the Capitol because there aren't enough charging stations there, so they could obviously just build them there as well, right?
That's one of the major concerns. Do we have enough charging stations, especially for if you live in an apartment complex? How are you going to charge all those vehicles and get them up and running every single day? And what happens when these charging stations go out? There's a lot of things we got to be careful about with it, and that's why we need to slow down and make sure we get this right.
All right.
Couldn't agree more. There's, you have to think about the multifamily housing as well.
Yeah.
Agreement among a Democrat and a Republican.
It happens.
Right.
It happens.
We'll see you next week. All right. Rachel Chalesky, she's a state representative from Danbury, a Republican, and Douglas McCrory, state senator from Hartford and Windsor is all.
I represent Hartford, Bloomfield, and Windsor.
All three. Okay. Democrat. Thank you both for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
And thank you for the work you've been doing.
Thank you. When we come back, AI on your phone right now.